Hi, I'm Greg Bucket and this is my story. I was born in Motueka, 1972. I led a pretty active lifestyle. I enjoyed mountain biking, water skiing, tramping in the hills around my hometown. But at age 15, I went into hospital with sore wrists and sore ankles. They kept me in overnight for some tests. By morning I woke, I couldn't straighten my arms or bend my knees. Even eating was a pain. This was the start of a roller coaster ride that's better described as a nightmare of ups and downs. And little did I know this was to last over a decade. Eventually, I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And with that, I was put on a cocktail of drugs to try and ease the pain and slow the disease. These drugs were only a short-term fix, but without them, I couldn't even walk. And they came with some pretty nasty side effects. Now, arthritis affects people in many ways, and not just physically. I had to leave school at a young age due to spending more time in a hospital room than in a classroom. I was in and out of work and eventually ended on the sickness benefit. And this was the lowest point of my life. By age 18, my arthritis had finally gone into remission, and I was able to follow my lifelong dream of becoming a deep-sea fisherman. But in 1994, a sudden relapse left me on crutches. 2 years after this, I became one of the youngest people in New Zealand to get an artificial hip due to arthritis. The surgery was a bit of a nightmare. They split my femur down the middle, just like a piece of bamboo, and they had to open me up again. The second operation, wire my femur back up, and away I go. Now, when you get your legs back, you don't walk, you run. And running water taxis in the Abel Tasman National Park became my way of life. But this wasn't to last long. 2 years down the track, my boss found me lying on the beach, near unconscious. The worst had happened. My hip was infected. To fix this required an operation, remove my hip, left me strapped to a bed for 2 months, lying there looking at the ceiling wondering what on earth was going to happen next. And what happened next was my shoulder started to hurt and I ended up needing a shoulder replacement as well. By age 29, I was feeling like I was 99. By now, I was on medication for the medication. I needed regular blood tests to make sure the drugs weren't doing me more harm than good. At this period, I started looking for alternatives. I tried wearing a copper bracelet, I drank cider vinegar. Somebody even suggested that I turn my bed parallel to the water pipes in my house. Nothing seemed to work. I'd suffered this crippling disease for more than 15 years. But at this stage, I run into a gentleman that ran a nutraceutical company in Nelson. He suggested I try glucosamine sulfate and omega-3. Now, these products come from natural sources, have no known side effects, so I had nothing to lose. To my surprise and immense relief, they worked. Within 2 months, I was off all my painkillers and anti-inflammatory drugs. My ulcers had cleared up, my mobility improved, and I was able to get back to work. 2 years before, I could barely stand. But then I was lifting 100 crab pots out of the sea every day. Not bad for a bloke who was meant to be riddled with arthritis. Today, 10 years after taking glucosamine and omega-3, I'm back, water skiing, mountain biking competitively, doing all the things I loved to do before this whole nightmare began. While glucosamine and omega-3 haven't cured my arthritis, they sure have turned my life around. I'm now part owner of the company that manufactures these very products. Glucosamine, omega-3 and O to be healthy have all changed my life. If you suffer from joint complaints, I recommend you give these products a chance.